Well, it is official. Deputy City Manager Erik Walsh will take the reins as San Antonio's next city manager March 1st.
Eyewitness News reporter Erica Zucco was there as council voted on his hiring and the new contract.
Congratulations, Erik Walsh.
A chamber full of co-workers, council members, family, and friends stood to clap for Erik Walsh. He's a deputy city manager with decades of service who will now lead more than 12,000 city staffers.
I'm excited. I'm ready to get to work.
Walsh follows Cheryl Scully, who led the city for 13 years. She says he's well prepared for the handoff.
I am very confident in Erik's ability to serve as quarterback of the city's leadership team.
Scully gave the new city quarterback a Trinity jersey marked with Walsh, a throwback to his years playing football at the university. They'll work together as he transitions into his new role, one Mayor Ron Nierenberg says holds monumental impact.
A new era is set to begin on March 1st.
Based on new city charter amendments voters approved in November, Walsh's contract caps his term at 8 years and his pay around $312,000. Walsh says he knew that would be the case when he applied and that his focus is serving his hometown.
The manager plays a role in making sure that the mayor and the council's priorities are executed. And so I feel a huge amount of responsibility and a sense of urgency to make sure that we support that and are able to achieve it. And it means more because San Antonio's home.
Erica Zucco, KENS 5 Eyewitness News.